If you live in the city of Toronto or the region of Peel, I want to know, are you happy that the stay-at-home and lockdown orders have been extended for at least 2 more weeks beyond today? Numbers to call, 416-360-0740 or toll free 1-866-744-740. Personally, as much as I want to get my nails done, I have to say I think it is a good idea. And wouldn't we rather be forced to stay at home and be locked down at the end of February and the beginning of March than in May and June when the nice weather arrives? Let's go to the experts and ask the same questions. Joining us are epidemiologist Dr. Timothy Sly at the School of Occupation and Public Health at Ryerson University and epidemiologist Dr. Raywat Deonandan in the Faculty of Health Sciences at the University of Ottawa. Doctors, hello, and thank you for joining us.
Hello, Jane.
Hello.
I'm certain you both think it's a good idea to keep Toronto and Peel locked down longer. I'd like to know why, Dr. Sly.
Well, I look at it as a plot on a dystopian novel at the moment. If you look on the horizon in one direction, you've got the vaccine cavalry there, but they're already late. They've lost the compass. They're stumbling around, but they will get here. It's just we have to hang on a bit. Turn around on the other horizon, you've got the mutants. Right, a bizarre bunch, and we don't quite know what danger they're capable of, and they're heading in our direction as well. So much of our future fate is going to depend on who gets here first and whether they bring good steaming doses of help or misfortune.
Dr. Ray, what about you? Why is it a good idea?
I love Dr. Sly's metaphors. I can't compete. I'll just say that the cases have come down worldwide, but they're down in Ontario to the point they were back in October, when we were first considering closing. So it's a strange time to be opening up when we're still at a point where we're in crisis mode. So many of our healthcare workers are still overtaxed, et cetera. And as Dr. Sly said, we have two competing factors here. One is, can we vaccinate enough? And the second is, the threat of the new variants is real. So we're in a race against when the new variants become dominant. And it does not strike me as a good idea to give the virus a head start in that race.
Okay, well, on that note, Dr. Karim Kurji, who is York Region's Medical Officer of Health, said he felt confident that it was time for York Region to have their restrictions relaxed a little bit, which is the case as of today, based on variant activity. So it does not seem, at least according to Dr. Kurji, that there is as much of a concern about the variants in York Region. Do we know as specific as that we can go region by region, Dr. Sly?
Well, it's true we need to be looking at the existing situation in any region before you make a decision on it, but there's some caveats there as well. I mean, if you remember in Saskatchewan, I was talking to a radio station out there way back 6-7 months ago. They're very pleased they didn't have any cases at all. And then suddenly, the next Monday morning, they had, I think, the first 25 cases. It wasn't, though, in the south where the big cities were. It was in a distant La Loche, Saskatchewan, the far north. Same kind of thing happened in Kingston. Suddenly, if you remember, at a nail salon.
Yes.
And then in the Maritimes as well. So it just takes the one case. So even though your pre-existing numbers are very low, to open the doors at that moment, you're sort of inviting unwanted visitors in, and there's havoc. Remember, all the data we get is already 1 to 5 weeks delayed or out of date. So we can't really read those with any confidence.
In terms of concerns around region hopping, Dr. Ray, certainly we know we're not supposed to, if we live in the city of Toronto or Mississauga or Brampton, we're not supposed to go to Halton Region, York or Durham Region. But the local political leaders are acknowledging that this will happen and that if we do go, we should observe all public health policies. That seems to me to be a mixed message and not a good way of presenting it.
Oh, absolutely. So if you're going to have a regional approach, the one great factor that will make that regional approach go out the window is domestic travel. Unless you have a way of discouraging infection from moving from the hot zone areas to the non-hot zone areas, it's a losing battle right up front. Now, even if you follow the public health guidance, it's unclear if the existing public health guidance is sufficient to control the new variants. That is why we're so concerned about this. Simply wearing a mask might not be enough. You probably need a better quality mask or multiple layers of mask and more discipline, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we probably have to update the public health guidance, especially for those who are going to travel. But you're right. The message should not be follow guidance. The message should be do not travel. Do not leave your zone if you don't have to.
So we're really living in a divided area here in the GTA, and obviously our listeners are from various parts of the Greater Toronto Area and across Southern Ontario. I really want to hear from you about how much you've stuck to your own region through all of this, and particularly lately as we're starting to see restrictions relaxed in areas across Ontario. 416-360-0740, toll free. 1-866-744-740. If you're just joining us, it's Jane for Libby, along with Dr. Ray Deonandan at the University of Ottawa and Dr. Timothy Sly at Ryerson University. And I think Dr. Ray's little one in the background as well.
Yeah.
And I know I can safely say that because you talk about it on your Twitter feed all the time.
Didn't think you'd hear him, but okay.
No, it's great. I think it's great that you're multitasking dad there. Let's get back to the talk about the variant. Dr. Sly, this B117, we got information that we've had on our news here at Zoomer Radio over the last day that the B117 variant, which originated in the United Kingdom, has spread tenfold during the month of January and is on its way to dominate all known positive samples in the region before the end of February. That would be Sunday. How realistic is that, and how concerned should we be?
Very realistic, Jane. The UK is several months ahead of us, and they're already there. It is the dominant strain. It was about 60% back in December, I think, something like that, and now it's about 80% over the whole country, especially the southeast of the country, the dense areas. And we're just following that. And it'd be a big mistake to say, look what, just like we did a year ago, saying, look what's happening in the other side of the world. It wouldn't arrive here, would it? No, it wouldn't. And of course, it's on its way. It's probably even arrived as you say that. Same thing here as well. We've got to be prepared. The same thing will happen here. It's a dominant strain. The effective R can easily be up by another 0.4, which puts it into a worrying position.
Dr. Ray, is there anything more that we're finding out even on a daily basis about this B117? We know it's more contagious, but there have been differing reports as to whether it's more deadly or causes more hospitalizations.
Yeah, exactly. That's the big unknown. But it seems, at least the reports I've been reading, it seems likely that it's probably more lethal. So it's quite serious, right? And I liken this to a movie. Unfortunately, we're in the third act of the movie, and the third act is always the fiercest battle. So this is almost done. We'll be done with most of this year, but we have to just overcome this final great foe.
Yes, and it's many variations, right?
Yes, exactly.
All right, let's go to the phones. We have some Zoomer Radio listeners who want to get in on the conversation with Dr. Ray and Dr. Sly. Let's go to George in Toronto. George, what's on your mind?
Well, I was just saying that my own personal feeling is that they're talking about maybe another 2 weeks. I think they should go for about another month for a lockdown, because if they do open up too soon, and things will happen probably, they're only going to have to shut down again. So why not? The weather is a type of weather that people aren't going out very far anyway. So why not? Personally, just shut it down for another month and see what happens after that.
Okay, great question. Thank you, George. Dr. Sly, what about that? Is this 2-week extension a good idea, or should we have a longer time in lockdown here in Toronto?
I think George has got some really good perspective on this. Remember now that if we follow the United States, their first wave was bad, the second wave was worse, and the third wave was really bad. The third one was the worst. And we can probably expect that to happen here too, mainly because the vaccines aren't arrived. So yes, 2 weeks would be the minimum. By that time, we need to make a very careful decision to see what's going on. Looking at presumably the positivity rate, it's a reasonably good indicator of how rapidly it's moving through the community. If that's way down, less than 1%, then I can think we can probably begin to cautiously relax. But if it's not, then we got to be careful. People in Ontario should be patted on the back, really, for having got the numbers down to about 40% or 30% of what it was in the peak. Let's not mess it up by relaxing too soon and seeing the numbers shoot back up again.
Dr. Sly, you mentioned about the vaccine. We need to take a quick break, but when we come back, the latest on the vaccines and your questions. Phone lines are jammed, but I think I've got one more line open here for both Dr. Ray Deonandan and Dr. Timothy Sly. 416-360-0740, toll free 1-866-744-740.